The latest issue of Fantastic Four number 25 by Dan Slott, R.B. Silva, Paco Medina, Will Robson, and others, promised a major new status quo, a major change for the Fantastic Four, for Marvel's first family. So, what is it? And does it live up to the hype? Hey everybody, this is Perch. Um, this video will contain some spoilers, certainly for Fantastic Four number 25. But I'm talking kind of half about that issue and half about what happened, and also the problem, which we've talked about before, of saying things like a major new turning point in the history of the Fantastic Four. One of the most important characters in the entire cosmos returns from the dead. And just we're living in a world where the comics have to get attention, and so comic companies will say very kind of breathless, very exciting, the biggest possible thing they can do to get you to believe that if you miss this issue, you're missing out. And the reality is, most of the time, you're not missing out, either because it's not as big a deal as people say, or because it's going to be recapped 800 times over the next several issues, or maybe because the series is going to get canceled and rebooted. It won't matter anyway. So the idea of, you won't believe this jaw-dropping, senses-shattering conclusion, those kinds of statements often don't mean much. And it's funny with this issue, Fantastic Four number 25, which follows up on a lot of the loose threads from Empire. It already feels like Empire was a long time ago. Now, some of that is we're in election year, and it's also pandemic year, and just in pandemic times, it's been roughly 6 years since the end of Empire. But by the calendar, it's been about 2 months, maybe even less. See, time has no meaning anymore. At any rate, to this issue in particular, Fantastic Four number 25. First off, R.B. Silva is a high-class quality talent. Just great artwork always. I like the renewed focus on the Fantastic Four. I'd like to think that the Fantastic Four is going to get some real careful steering from Marvel, because it will wind up as a movie and part of their cinematic plan someday. But at any rate, I'll enjoy the ride for while it lasts. The big change that they're referring to is that basically there is now a gate, a portal, like the Krakoa portals, that can go anywhere in the universe, from basically Manhattan, from the Fantastic Four's apartment, Baxter Building, kind of that area, and it can go anywhere in the universe. Kind of you step through and you're transported. How this is terribly different from the Krakoa gates is a little bit trickier to determine, other than, the Krakoa gates do need a gate on each side to actually, step through and go through. And this just appears to be, you can teleport yourself anywhere, anywhere. And as is set up in the comic, this becomes a good thing and a bad thing simultaneously. Yes, you can go explore and go anywhere right away, no problem. But you also, people can come to you. So it is a door that goes both ways, and stuff can just kind of randomly, show up, and that's bad news because a bunch of cosmic threats can suddenly just appear in downtown Manhattan. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, this sounds a lot like the negative zone, and if you are thinking that, you would be right. It is that, but this is now another kind of negative zone. It's too early to say, will this be used heavily or not? This feels like something that's just going to pop up when, there's a need for a story. It's like, well, the Fantastic Four, there's nothing going on, so, look, aliens have come through the gate. I don't know. But at any rate, that's the big, things will never be the same again. This issue has a permanent new status quo change. I'm not sure it accomplishes that. It's an interesting plot and story device. It does keep the Fantastic Four kind of cosmically centered. But, this is one of those kinds of bits of comic book writing that always feels like it's not going to be used when it kind of should be used, and it's going to get overused in times when you don't really care. Like, we'll get the alien arriving in Manhattan, of the month kind of threat. But also when maybe King of Plaque is coming, it's like, hey, maybe we could lure a bunch of these symbiote things through the Forever Gate and then dump them off into the sun. We'll forget that thing exists during that time. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. The other bit that came out in this issue is that some time ago there was this little series called Original Sin, and in it basically Nick Fury gets the Watcher eye. Uatu is killed, and he becomes the new Watcher, the new unseen character. And at the end of Empire, we see that Yatu's come back, and basically, man, I can't wait for people to show up to talk about the pronunciation. And Nick Fury is recreated back into himself. Only now he has no hair. He's bald because thematically he's looking like Yatu. He still has the eye patch, and he's Nicholas Fury, so we don't get confused. But the return of Nick Fury, the return of Yatu, and basically he warns of an old war, the First War, and a reckoning. Okay, so why does that matter? Well, a long time ago, in pandemic years, roughly 300 years ago, or back in around 2003, I think, somewhere around there, Dan Slott was teasing something called the Reckoning War that She-Hulk would initiate or screw up and do. And this Reckoning War, he's kind of referenced for a long time, but it's been going. It's going at least 15 years now. I guess 2005 is when this hit. It's going about 15 years, and the Reckoning War has been promised and pushed and all the rest. And it feels like this issue is kicking that off kind of in earnest, and it probably has something to do with this gate and Yatu and the new Nicholas Fury, the Herald of Yatu, will be out on the case, and so we're finally getting that Reckoning War. So people who've been, dutifully hanging on for this long storyline for Dan Slott, maybe it feels like we're finally getting to it, once and for all. Before Dan Slott, it stops working for Marvel, we got to get to this storyline that he's been teasing for 15 years. So that's what you have. But overall, I mean, so do those events qualify as a bold new era, a new status quo, a major turning point, a huge change? Does it get you there? I'm not sure. I in my mind, no. But I wonder, and I'm wondering if anybody else feels the same way as me. How much of this is just because you're jaded by all the reboots and the relaunches and the change in direction and we're doing this and we're doing that and then all over the place. I mean, it feels like we've had so many senses-shattering conclusions and epic moments that will forever change the Marvel Universe that, these things no longer land with any kind of huge impact. And I wonder if I had seen this issue 25 years ago, would I have been like, holy crap, some big things just happened? I don't, maybe it's just hard to project that. So the question goes out to you. Is this a major change? Do you particularly care? Does it, how do you feel about all this? Have you been long awaiting the Reckoning War? Do you feel like the Marvel Universe has changed forever? Are you kind of waiting for the next big change forever in Ten of Swords and then King in Black and then, whatever comes after that? Is the Reckoning War going to turn out like Iron Man 2020 for 2021? Is it going to be, are we going to get is this the summer event that we're into with a ton of crossovers? Lots of questions here. Maybe you have the answers. Go ahead and throw them in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. If you thought you were subscribed, you may not be, so check that out again. But most importantly, thanks for listening.